Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike the Intern, Ned Reynolds in the studio on a Friday morning. The first round of the NFL Draft is under our belts, and I would like to give myself a pat on the back. I would also like to give you a pat on the back. You and I pretty much have said the same thing since February, and that was first round of the draft, the Chiefs need to go D. I wanted an edge rusher. I said if we get a D back, that'd be great. They did both. I honestly, in my opinion, I thought if they were going to trade up, they were going to trade up for a defensive end or a rusher, but they went after the CB, man.
That's because Trent McDuffie from Washington does have a good background. I don't know too much about the guy because it is the University of Washington out in Seattle, but I do know, having followed football for many years, that Washington has produced a very good share of defensive backs, cornerbacks, safeties, and so forth. In fact, the Chiefs got one, Marcus Peters, a few years ago. And he was a good player. He wasn't a real good person, but he was a good player. Well, the good person aspect of things you're not going to be able to find in an early summation of somebody. That doesn't happen. You learn about them from later on. But in the case of McDuffie, while he doesn't have a whole lot of size, he is coming from a pretty good program. Washington didn't play the toughest of all schedules and didn't have a really good year. But you can't pin one person, put a blame on that. I think the guy has a lot to offer, and the fact that the Chiefs moved up to 21 to get him, I think is very significant of what the Chiefs scouts saw in this guy. He's probably a mini Marcus Peters coming in there. He can play the game. I think that's a good choice. Karlaftis, the guy who got number 30, George Karlaftis from Purdue, yes, I am familiar with him. He's not ready to come in and play right away. Frank Clark and Frank Clark and Chris Jones are going to be there, and they're going to play. Will he get plenty of time? Oh, yeah, sure, in the exhibition season, which is only 2 games, but nonetheless, he'll get plenty of time as a sub. But Karlaftis does have the skills to get in there and plays very quick as a defensive end and played for a pretty good level of competition. Purdue had a good year in the Big Ten Conference this year. So I think they are very good choices by the Chiefs, and what pleases me more than anything is they didn't listen to the hyperbole. They didn't listen to the blogs and the tweets and all this from all the quote-unquote experts. They stayed the course. They did what they had to do. They did very conservatively, which is great. I love that manner of drafting that they had, and this will help them. They did need defense. So then they got the defense in the first round. Now from here on in, we'll see what happens. First 2 picks, also defense.
First 4 picks.
First 4, that's right.
All
it is
defense.
First 4. Does that tell you something about pro football?
Oh,
it
yeah.
does. Defense is going to win for you, folks. Just like in basketball when you play the D, and in baseball when you have the very good defensive set, you're going to win more than not. Trayvon Walker, it was a battle. You couldn't pick between Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson. They're very good ball players. They're all Americas, both of them. Walker coming from Georgia, and I think probably what tilted the balance for the Jacksonville Jaguars is that Georgia handled Michigan in the postseason. But over and above that, Walker is really fierce. He's a terrific linebacker. And not only linebacker, he can play everywhere on defense. He's that good an athlete. Hutchinson, staying at home, University of Michigan, going to the Detroit Lions. That in and of itself probably was not a factor. Hutchinson's a fine player. He comes from a great football background, and he will help those first 2 teams. These are solid defensive picks going on. Were there any surprises? There was one that did surprise me a little bit, and that's Tennessee unloading a really good wide receiver in A.J. Brown, sending him to Philadelphia.
Yeah, that trade happened in the middle of the
Right in the middle. I saw that. I said, can this be?
Too.
They're getting rid of their...
In the middle of this thing.
To the Philadelphia Eagles, thank you, Philadelphia.
I know.
Hey, this is a big deal.
Ned was just sitting there going, oh, this draft is taken. So what? We're getting him? All right.
Yeah, it's taking on a new level.
I guess I will go make that other drink. Well,
it did take a long time, but of course, folks, you have to understand that's not the NFL. That's the TV.
Yeah,
folks.
it's ESPN.
They want it to be that way. It's 10 minutes. I think I'm right on this.
Yeah,
10 minutes between the rounds. Today it goes down to 7 minutes, and tomorrow it goes to a minute and a half.
Yeah,
come on.
Well, and a lot of the time, especially last night, I think it's funny because they used to kind of play the game where they would wait, the clock would just keep running. Right. Last night it was like some of these teams were like 2 seconds, the pick is in, but then they just have to hold because they're like, oh, we're supposed to go to another commercial break. What are we supposed to do here? But yeah, I'd almost given up hope because in my mind I was like, if the Chiefs are going to trade up, I'm thinking in like the 13 to 17 area to get to that level. But then I started seeing who was getting picked up, and I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. And then right before I was about to go to bed and give up on it, they traded up. I was like, yes. So
there is another very interesting pick that it only semi-surprised me. Now, Roethlisberger's gone. He's retired from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh stayed in town to get their QB, Kenny Pickett. Now, he may or may not be a starter right away, but he's a pretty good ball player. Pittsburgh, which is in the ACC, and Pickett was an All-America QB. Can he step in and handle that black and gold right away? The fans in Pittsburgh are pretty demanding, and they haven't had a lot to cheer about here in recent years. Interested to see what he does with the Steelers and how he's able to mold himself into the professional level. But having said that about Pickett, that's the same with every other player. It's an altogether different ball game, folks. Quicker, stronger, better, and mindset completely.
And that's, you look at it like a guy, Nick Bolton, who had an incredible first year at the team. What did he say through the first half of the season? I'm just trying to get used to the speed of the game. And we're talking about a guy who, like Ned always says, is a professional, and you go to that level and they all say the same thing. So you're absolutely right about that. So yesterday was just the first round. We still got a few more to go in the NFL draft, and round 2 begins tonight. Again, what time?
They moved the whole presentation up by an hour. It'll be 6 o'clock Central Time tonight when it all starts. It is 2 rounds tonight. It's funny to me because the first round, they have a 10-minute, you're on the window for 10 minutes. Okay, tonight you're on the window for 7 minutes. So the teams will have that amount of time. The Chiefs will have a number of pretty good picks in this one coming up. 2nd and 3rd rounds are tonight, then 4 through 7 is tomorrow, the weekend. That's when it wraps up. There are only 7 rounds in the NFL draft. Mike, I remember when it went on to 18, 19, and 20 rounds. A long time. And, of course, many of them, the teams just say, hey, we're not picking anybody here. Let's just go on. But they've narrowed it down to 7. That's because of the TV situation. They want to keep it combined. As a result, you get a number of free agents, and those free agents do get a shot in camp. It's not an unknown for a free agent to make the team. But first things first, and that's tonight, rounds 2 and 3, and they will be from starting at 6 o'clock.
Can't wait to meet those players and see them in red and gold. It's exciting, and honey, if you're listening, you know what we're watching again tonight. Sorry, NFL draft.
Wait a minute. Is she happy with that decision?
I mean, it's funny because when Oliver was born, that was when the draft was happening. So when she went into labor was round 1. So it was, the beginning of labor it wasn't like crazy or anything. So we were just sitting in the room, and here's me watching the NFL draft. So every time the draft happens, I always think of just being in a hospital room watching it. So I think she's kind of gotten accustomed to it. And of course, Oliver was born during it, so he knows the deal. He has to watch it.
Who was the number 1 choice that year?
That was the COVID. That was the COVID year where our Lord and Savior commissioner was sitting in his couch in his basement.
Remember it well.
I don't remember who. I don't know. I can't remember.
Nor do I.
Oh, man. Well, I know why I don't remember. I don't know about you, man. All right. Well, help me remember who won yesterday in baseball.
In baseball, we had a win for the Cardinals, 8-3 over a very, very non-impressive Arizona Diamondbacks team. That's first of a 4-game series. Cardinals get a win. Royals get a win. Kansas City scored 3 runs in the top of the 10th inning. Second consecutive game against the White Sox that they had gone into extra frames. They lost the one 2 days ago. But yesterday, Kansas City wins. Get 3 runs in the top of the 10th inning and hold off the Chicago White Sox 5-2, I beg your pardon. And boy, Chicago's in an early slump in April. But that's just it. It is April. You don't make any judgments this early, nor until probably the latter part of May or June. Then you begin to have some concerns. But no, not early on, because these teams are going to get hot. Anyway, Kansas City gets a win. The Cardinals get a win. You get 2 victories here. Springfield Cardinals did not. They played the San Antonio Missions last night. Terrific baseball game. Now, you say, well, that's boring. The final score is 1-0. San Antonio won it with a run in the 2nd inning. But think of the pitching and the defense. Each team had 4 hits in this one. Great pitching, terrific defensive play, And the Missions were the ones who got the one run out of it, 1-0. They'll play again tonight down in San Antonio.
How many games before they get back to Springfield?
They end the series on Sunday and come back Springfield Tuesday to take on Northwest Arkansas for a 6-game series.
Always a great series against the Naturals. All right, so I think the NBA playoffs pretty much has gone the way I thought it would, with the exception of the Nets just getting blown out so early. I really didn't see that, but it happens. Any surprises for you so far?
No, not really, because the favorite teams have come through,
Yeah.
and 3 of them advanced last night. Now, these weren't totally decisive games in terms of having to win and having to lose, not 3-3 apiece or something like that. But each team that was ahead did win last night and moves on now to the second round. There's only one first-round series remaining, and that's Minnesota-Memphis, and they decide theirs tonight. Philadelphia blew out the Toronto Raptors in Canada. Blew them out 132-97 was the final, and Philadelphia wins that series 4-2. Phoenix Suns and New Orleans Pelicans had a hell of a series. It was really well done. Phoenix holds on to win. They were favored. Phoenix is favored to win the NBA title. They're that good. 115-109 was the final. Phoenix wins that series 4-2, and the Dallas Mavericks go out to Salt Lake City and beat the Utah Jazz 98-96, and the Mavericks win that series 4-2. So we're on now to the second round of the playoffs. All these are a best of 7, and it'd be a lot of fun to see. There's a little bit better competition now coming up for the winning teams and the favored teams.
Are they after the shaky start for the Suns? Do you still think they should be favored? Who you think's the big dog now?
They're very good.
Yeah, but
Phoenix,
a lot of these teams are really good, though.
Phoenix is very good. I'll tell you who the sleeper. Now they're out of it this year, but the sleeper team for the future is the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah,
they get that big Zion Williamson from Duke. You remember him from 2 years ago? He's been injured. He comes back healthy. Whoa, watch out. That's a very good basketball team. But I think this year I'd have to give a nod to Phoenix.
Man, we'll see what happens. A lot of basketball left to be played. Have a wonderful weekend, Ned, and I'll see you on Monday, man.